Hello dear students, so this is the mock exam 2020. Here is the text for you and here are the comprehension questions. So let's correct it together, starting with activity A. Choose the best title for the text. Here we have three options. Option number 1, a new medicine for coronavirus disease. Option 2, the symptoms of coronavirus disease. And the third option, the coronavirus disease COVID-19 pandemic. Let's go back to the text. In paragraph number 1, we have the coronavirus disease COVID-19. Also, we have the word pandemic, which refers to this virus. And we have infectious disease, which is talking about the same virus. In paragraph number 2, we have coronavirus disease. In paragraph 3, the COVID-19 and coronavirus disease. And also in the last paragraph, we have COVID-19. So as you notice with me, approximately all the paragraphs are talking about the same thing. So the correct option here is number 3. And the best title is the coronavirus disease COVID-19 pandemic. Let's move on to activity B. So activity B is about true or false and justification. Number 1, the rise in deaths is decreasing in many countries. When I say decreasing, it means going down. But when we go to paragraph number 2, we have completely the opposite. The number of death cases is increasing. It means going up, not down. So the answer here is false. The number of death cases is increasing rapidly, especially in the USA, Italy, and Spain. Number 2, COVID-19 is a respiratory disease that causes lung inflammation. Let's go to paragraph 2. Here we have, paragraph 3. Coronavirus disease affects the lungs. So it's correct. It affects the lungs by causing what? By causing inflammation and severe respiratory problem. So number 2 is true. Number 3, the first patient, when I say patient, it means sick person. So the first patient died because there were no ventilators in Jonathan Hospital, Wuhan, China. Let's go to paragraph number 4. We have, despite being put on a ventilator, it means that that person at that moment, he was put on a ventilator. But what's the problem? His lungs failed and his heart stopped beating. So number 3 is false. Let's move on to activity C. Answer these questions. Number 1, who are the most threatened people by coronavirus disease? Let's go to paragraph number 2. We have older people, or you can say elderly people, and those with underlying medical problems. It means people who suffer from health problems like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer. What's the problem with these people? Those are mostly affected people by the virus. So we say older people and those with underlying medical problems are mostly affected. Number 2, why do some patients need a ventilator? Here we are going to look for a cause or a reason. Let's go to paragraph number 3. We have infected people suffer from, what do they suffer from? They suffer from shortness of breath and difficulty breathing, and that's why some patients need a ventilator. So we say because infected people suffer from shortness of breath and difficulty breathing, that's why some patients need a ventilator to help them breathe. Number 3, what is the preventive? When I say preventive, it means protective. What is the preventive measure taken by countries to stop the spread of the virus? Let's go to the last paragraph. Many countries have closed the borders. Why did they close the borders? As a preventive measure to limit exposure risks and to stop the spread of the disease. Okay, now we are going to move on to activity D. So complete the following sentences. Fever, tiredness, and dry cough are. Let's go to paragraph number 3. Here we have the word fever, tiredness, and dry cough. What are these? These are symptoms of the virus. Number 2, washing hands, maintaining a safe distance, and staying home are. We have the answer in the last paragraph. The best way to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So we say washing hands, maintaining a safe distance, and staying home are the best ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Okay, we are going to move on to activity E. Find in the text words or phrases that mean the same as. It means we are going to look for synonyms. Synonym of contagious in paragraph number 1. Let's go to paragraph number 1 and here is the word. So infectious is synonym of contagious. Number 2, what is the synonym of illness in paragraph 2? Okay, so here is the word. Disease is another synonym of illness. The last one, what is the synonym of protective in paragraph number 5? Let's go to paragraph number 5 and here is the synonym, preventive. This is the last activity in comprehension, activity F. What do the underlined words in the text refer to? Okay, as you notice in paragraph number 3, we have the word them. It is underlined. Let's go to paragraph 3. Them refers to some patients. That's why some patients need a ventilator to help them. I can ask myself, who needs a ventilator? The answer is them. They need a ventilator. That means some patients. Number 2, we have the word there. It is underlined in paragraph number 5. Let's go to paragraph 5. Here, there refers to many countries. Many countries have closed their borders. I can ask myself, which borders are we talking about in here? We are talking about the borders of many countries. It means their borders. So now we have finished the correction of the comprehension. Let's move on to language. Okay, activity A. Give the correct form of the words in brackets. Number 1, the family intends to. Between brackets we have immigration. This is noun, but normally here we should use the verb or the infinitive. Why? To simply we follow this rule, which is to plus infinitive. So we say the family intends to immigrate to Canada next year. Number 2, Bob is very. Between brackets we have joy. This is a noun, and normally we should use an adjective here. Why using an adjective? In order to give more details about Bob. So we say Bob is very joyful. It means very happy, satisfied and glad. Bob is very joyful because he succeeded in the exam. Activity B. Fill in the gaps with appropriate words or expressions from the list. Number 1, we have take up, stand for and show up. Take up means to start a leisure activity or a hobby or to be interested in something. Stand for means be an abbreviation or a symbol of something, and it has another meaning. It means to refuse to tolerate or to refuse to endure. Whereas show up is a phrasal verb that means to appear, to come and to arrive. So the correct option in here is show up. Jonah didn't show up at the party yesterday. It means Jonah didn't come at the party yesterday. Number 2, we can't start our project if we don't get some financial. The word financial has to do with money, so we need some financial support from the government. Support means aid and help. Okay, we move on to activity C. Fill in the gaps with appropriate words or phrases from the list. Number 1, we have relative pronouns whom, who, and which. Okay, the computer is thing or object, and we use the relative pronoun which in order to refer to objects, to refer to things, and to refer to animals. So we say the computer which keeps breaking down is driving me crazy. Number 2, would you mind? Are we going to use waiting, wait, or to wait? So here we are going to use waiting. Why? Because would you mind plus a gerund, or we can say plus a verb and plus ing form. So please remember the expression would you mind plus verb plus ing form. Would you mind waiting for a few minutes, please? Activity D. Put the verbs in brackets in the correct tense. Number 1. By the end of September 2020, doctors find a vaccination against coronavirus disease. Always remember that the expression or the adverbial by the end of plus a point in the future or a point time in the future. Here we are going to use the future perfect. Will plus have plus the past participle, because we are talking about an action which will be completed at a specific time in the future. So we say by the end of September 2020, doctors will have found a vaccination against coronavirus disease. Number 2, if John followed his father's advice, he wouldn't have failed the exam. Here we are going to use the conditional type 3. If you notice, we have the if clause and we have the main clause, and here we need the if clause. So we say if John had followed, we use the past perfect, which is composed of had plus past participle. So if John had followed his father's advice, he wouldn't have failed the exam. Activity E, rewrite the sentences beginning with the words given. Number 1, I will be at the airport before 11:30. Who said this sentence? Lisa said this sentence. It means, so this is a direct speech. We are going to change it into indirect speech. So we are going to say, Lisa said that she would be at the airport at 11:30. Here we use the reported speech. Okay, we have the rule which is subject plus modal plus be. And since we have the modal will, we should change it into would. Number 2, the majority of students and teachers are using WhatsApp for educational purposes. So here we start with WhatsApp and we say WhatsApp is being used by the majority of teachers and students for educational purposes. Why? Because here we use the passive voice, and remember this is the rule, be plus past participle. Of course we keep the same tense that we have in the active sentence. If you notice, we have are using, this is the present continuous, so we kept the same tense. We say is being and then the past participle. Number 3, it is a pity I didn't take part in the campaign to protect the environment, Alfred said. Alfred is regretting something that happened in the past. Since we have didn't, the auxiliary didn't, it means this is a past wish. So we say Alfred wishes he had taken part in the campaign to protect the environment. Always remember past wishes. Okay, the rule is had plus past participle. The last 2 activities. Okay, F and G. F, match each expression with its appropriate function. Number 1, what do you mean by e-learning? Imagine a person who doesn't know the meaning of e-learning and he is right now asking. Asking for what? Asking for clarification. It means asking for elaboration and explanation. He needs more explanation. Number 2, could you send me that video on WhatsApp, please? Somebody who is asking you to do for him a favor using the expression could you, using the expression please. It means asking you in a polite way. This is making a request. Activity G, write appropriate responses to the following exchanges. Okay, your neighbor always makes noise at night and you cannot sleep. Okay, we are going to complain. We complain when we are not satisfied with the situation. Here is an example for you. I am sorry to say this, but you always make noise at night and I cannot sleep. Of course, your neighbor is going to apologize. Okay, this is an example. I do apologize for this behavior. I promise I won't repeat it again.